Combs referred to as, among other things, freak-offs. Now, you can be a freak and it's not illegal, but you can't force people to do shit. And this is what I'm getting at. When you have a lot of money and you have no accountability and you want to do whatever the fuck you want to do whenever the fuck you want to do it, I think you can go a little bonkers.
You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
I mean, he's complaining to a teenager that you don't really want to hang out with me. Okay, but he didn't do this. Just so you know, he didn't do this. He did not do this. He doesn't have... Oh, my God. Look at all that baby oil. He didn't do this. He didn't have all these bottles of baby oil for nothing.
And we'll fight every day until we don't have to fight anymore.
That means when he's out of money.
He's not afraid of the charges. There's nothing that the government...
Okay, that's just dumb. He's not afraid of the charges? Wouldn't you be afraid of the charges? Where are you? You're in fucking Rikers Island. You goddamn well better be afraid. They just executed 2 search warrants. They've got obliterated serial numbers on firearms. They've got videos and baby oil. You know, what he needs is somebody to tell him what the truth is. You are f***ed. You are absolutely f***ed. You're going to prison for the good portion of the rest of your life. I guarantee you they've offered immunity to the people around him so that they testify. And separate from the freak-offs, Combs, among other things, hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims at times by their hair. And you keep in mind, these victims are going to come in and testify. Combs and the victims typically received IV fluids to recover from the physical exertion and drug use. I don't want to fuck him anymore. Too bad. You're going to fuck him some more. I mean, they also got 1,000 bottles of baby oil. You know, they got terabytes and terabytes of videos. You know, remember I was telling you they got all those electronics? Somebody like this guy wants to preserve that. I guarantee you it's all there.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Ready?
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminally Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your very own, you know who you are, your very own personal board-certified criminal defense lawyer. I am here with our content genius, Michael Rivers, who's in front of the camera and behind the camera and behind the microphone and in front of the microphone. He's at the editing desk. He's at everything. He is the reason we're even doing this. So say hello, Michael Rivers.
Hello, CLR fans. Just one thing real quick. The sweatshirts are in, so everybody that pre-ordered, thank you. And you guys are the greatest in the world, so.
All right, so today we're reacting to the indictment of the Diddler, the P. Diddler, the P. Diddy, Sean Puff Daddy Love, as he's referred. What does he call him in the indictment? I don't know. P. Diddy, Sean Puff Daddy Combs. I don't know. This just absolutely floors me. This is what we call, corruption. Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, I just can't believe how fucking stupid this guy is. But before we get into the stupidity and the unnecessary crap that he did and why he did it and everything, we're going to get into all that. This is brought to you by eForms.com, a very loyal sponsor of the right-minded legal people who don't engage in sex trafficking and all this other kind of crap. eForms.com is a very effective way to avoid the high costs of a lawyer like me. When you sell something, you need a bill of sale. When you rent in a place, you need a rental agreement. When you have a grandma in her basement who's really not doing the greatest because she's on meth and likes to have her only feet fans, and you really need to get a hold of her finances and make sure she's taken care of, well, you need a power of attorney for that person, don't you? But regardless of what your need is, if you have it in writing, if you need it in writing, get it from eForms.com, because it's a very effective way to protect yourself, stay out of court, or win in court. You don't need a lawyer for that. Go to eForms.com. Okay, so Mr. Diddler, Puff Daddy, he is charged with racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. So in other words, flying prostitutes out to, and male or female. So here's the thing. He is looking at a bunch of time. First, what he did was he had his initial appearance. That was last week. I think it was last Tuesday or something like that. And when you have your initial appearance, the government makes a motion to detain. And in this case, there's a presumption that he's detained while the case is pending. What does that mean? It means you're not entitled to bail. What did I say? Doesn't that seem he hasn't been convicted of anything? No, you're not entitled to bail. So, but it's a rebuttable presumption. So what do? They say initially, all right, on Tuesday, we're going to detain you. The government sought detainment in this case. And Mr. Puff Daddy Combs Diddler, would you like a detention hearing? And so he says, yes, we're going to fight detention. So on Thursday, they fought detention. And what they did is they offered to put up $50 million for bail. I mean, who the fuck does that? Nobody. They offered to have a 24-hour security guard, at his expense, monitor his whereabouts with an ankle bracelet and cameras and basically have him on home detention. And they put up some other various, remember we did this with NBA Youngboy, and he was able to get out. Diddy, I don't know if they found drugs in his hotel, but they found weapons at his house. They found, and he was in New York because he knew he was about to get indicted. And what does the government do? The government doesn't tell you you're going to get indicted. The government says, we're going to arrest you as soon as we get you indicted. And everything's secret. It's under seal. And the reason they do that is twofold. One, they want to have the argument that, you're a risk of flight. And they had some arguments that they're, and they also had witness intimidation issues with Combs. So they don't want him to go attack a witness. So they do everything under seal until he appears in court. The other thing is that they want the argument to say that, we arrested him. He didn't turn himself in, blah, 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 right? But what is he looking at? The statute that he's charged with, that he's been indicted on, he could be looking up to life. And if we look at, let's just look at some of this conduct. Means of the enterprise. It's a 13-page, 3-count indictment, but the conspiracy and what they're doing is just, they had this thing called freak-offs. Combs and other members and associates of the Combs Enterprise, and they're using the Combs Enterprise, for the racketeering statute, because it's saying, the way he acted with all these other people and doing what he did, they acted in concert with each other under the statute, and that comprises of an enterprise. To that end, it's an organization, governed by the racketeering statute. Combs and other members and associates of the Combs Enterprise wielded the power and prestige of Combs' role at the Combs business to intimidate, threaten, and lure female victims into Combs' orbit, often under the pretense of a romantic relationship. What does that sound like? The lover boy method. Combs then used 4 threats of force and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sex acts with male commercial sex workers that Combs referred to as, among other things, freak-offs. Now, you can be a freak and it's not illegal, but you can't force people to do shit. You just can't. You can't bring, I'm going to bring in this male stripper / prostitute, and I'm going to have him fuck you, and if you don't want to do that, I'm going to take away, your recording contract.
Blackball you from the industry, basically, yeah.
Right. Freak-offs were elaborated and produced sex performances that Combs arranged, directed, masturbated during, and often electronically recorded. In arranging these freak-offs, Combs, with assistance of members and associates of Combs Enterprises, transported and caused to be transported commercial sex workers across state lines and internationally. They got terabytes and terabytes of videos. Remember I was telling you they got all those electronics? Somebody like this guy wants to preserve that shit. I guarantee you it's all there. Freak-offs occurred regularly, sometimes lasted multiple days, and often involved multiple commercial sex workers. During freak-offs, Combs distributed a variety of controlled substances to victims. in part to keep the victims obedient and compliant. Well, you got to do that. I mean, how else are you going to keep people, on point? That's force, fraud, or coercion, but it's coercion. Sometimes, unbeknownst to the victims, Combs kept videos he filmed of victims engaging in sex acts with commercial sex workers. After freak-offs, Combs and the victims typically received IV fluids to recover from the physical exertion and drug use. I don't want to fuck him anymore. Too bad. You're going to fuck him some more. They also got 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Oh, my God. Anyway, what's going to happen here, and this case is going to be built on snitches and physical evidence in the form of the recordings that they got in their search last March. Remember I told you we did an episode on this right after the search happened, and that once they do their forensics, which I guarantee you they got a ton of information. Members and associates of Combs Enterprises, including high-ranking supervisors, security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and other Combs business employees, facilitated the freak-offs, among other things, by booking hotel rooms for the freak-offs. Very easy to prove that. Stocking the hotel room in advance with the required freak-off supplies, including controlled substances, baby oil, lubricant, extra linens, lighting, cleaning the hotel rooms after the freak-offs to try to mitigate the room damage, arranging for travel for victims, commercial sex workers, and Combs to and from freak-offs, resupplying Combs with the requested supplies, delivering large sums of cash to Combs to pay the commercial sex workers, and scheduling the delivery of IV fluids. Delivery of IV fluids. In or about March 2024, during the searches of Combs' residences in Miami, Florida, and Los Angeles, California, law enforcement seized various freak-off supplies, including narcotics and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. Notice they didn't really charge him with the specific 841. In other words, they didn't charge him with possession of drugs, but they're using the possession of drugs as part of the, overt acts for the RICO. And we'll continue to read here, and then we'll talk about what he's looking at and how dumb this guy is. I mean, he's a fucking billionaire. Why the fuck would you do this shit? You know why? Because you can.
About all the scandal with the Ciroc and stuff like that just ended right before this, so he wasn't really protected by these executives anymore,
Well, who's going to protect him on this? Nobody. Combs subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse to cause the victims to engage in freak-offs. So that's your coercion. Combs maintained control over his victims through, among other things, physical violence, promise of career opportunities, granting and threatening to withhold financial support, and by other coercive means, including tracking their whereabouts, dictating the victim's appearance, monitoring and medical records, controlling their housing, and supplying them with controlled substances. During and separate from the freak-offs, Combs, among other things, hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims at times by their hair. These assaults often resulted in injuries that took days or weeks to heal. And you keep in mind, these victims are going to come in and testify to this shit. And I bet you some of this stuff is already on video. Combs also threatened victims' careers and livelihoods if they resisted participating in the freak-offs. Victims believed they could not refuse Combs' demands and say that's going to be his defense, is that no, this was all consensual. Without risking their financial job security or without repercussions in the form of physical or emotional abuse. Combs also used the sensitive, embarrassing, and incriminating records that he made during the freak-offs as collateral. In other words, I'm going to show your mommy you getting drilled from behind by 3 guys. I mean, that's what he did. Members and associates of the Combs enterprise, including Combs security personnel, at times carried firearms. On more than one occasion, Combs himself carried a brandished firearms to intimidate and threaten others. That's your force, including victims of and witnesses to his abuse. In or about March 2024, and remember we had one of his people sued him about this. Right after Cassie sued him, there was about 3 or 4 other lawsuits. Yeah. And so I think that's what this is referring to. In or about March 2024, during searches of Combs' residence in Miami, Florida, and Los Angeles, California, because remember they did both of those simultaneously, law enforcement seized firearms and ammunition, including 3 AR-15s with defaced serial numbers, as well as a drum magazine. You know, why does he need that? He doesn't need that, but he's a gangster. Not really. 50 Cent didn't want to go shopping with him.
Kicking this shit, and he was like, yo, why don't we like go shopping or some shit? I mean, like, I pay for it. And I was like, what the fuck this nigga just say?
That's a gangster. Members and associates of the Combs Enterprises enabled Combs' control over victims by following his directions regarding financial payments to victims, advancing and suppressing victims' career opportunities, and acquiring the controlled substances Combs used to keep the victims compliant. See, using drugs to keep somebody compliant, that's coercion. Members and associates of Combs Enterprises at times witnessed Combs' violence towards the victims or the victims' injuries caused by Combs without intervening. Instead, members and associates of Combs Enterprises helped conceal the violence and abuse by, among other things, assisting Combs in monitoring and preventing victims from leaving locations such as hotel rooms or Combs residences. These occasions included instances in which a victim was required to remain in the building or remain in hiding, sometimes for several days at a time. Why? To recover from injuries Combs inflicted without being publicly observed. In other words, well, we'll let her go and after her bruises clear up. Members and associates of the Combs Enterprise also assisted Combs in locating and contacting victims who attempted to flee his abuse. One of the things that's going to happen here, so notice that Combs is the only one on the indictment. You know, racketeering, you have to be involved with others. It's got to be an organization. You can't just do it by yourself. I guarantee you they've offered immunity to the people around him so that they testify. When Combs' authority or reputation was threatened by the possibility of negative publicity or legal or law enforcement action against him, including in or about late 2023, following public allegations of Combs' crimes, in other words, I think that's Cassie's case, Combs and members of the associates of the enterprise pressured witnesses and victims, including through attempted bribery to stay silent. Remember, he paid her $30 million. Report what they experienced or knew to law enforcement. On phone calls, listen to this. This is just so fucking stupid. On phone calls, Combs and other members and associates of the enterprise, among other things, provided these victims and witnesses with false narratives of events in an effort to conceal the crimes. Combs caused these calls to be recorded on at least 2 occasions. You know, and they got those through their search warrants. You know what we call that? What do we call that? We call that self-snitching. You know, I mean, why would you do that? Why would you record that call? I suppose you could say that they're going to record it. If I was them, I would have recorded that call. But he should never have been on the phone with anybody like that. His people should never have been on the phone. Should have been somebody, shouldn't have been anybody. Here's what kills me. You've got a guy in Sean P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, you know, Combs, whatever his rapper name is, whatever, who made a lot of money. I mean, he was popular, dude. He had several different businesses and was making, you know, by all means, by any account, was a multi-millionaire, if not a billionaire.
And not to mention the fact that he made a heap load of money after Biggie Smalls died. Because remember, he died in 1997. He had all the rights to his music, right? And Life After Death came out, and two more subsequent albums came out. Those were huge, and those were biggest.
Right. So he and this is what I'm getting at. When you have a lot of money and you have no accountability and you want to do whatever the fuck you want to do whenever the fuck you want to do it, I think he can go a little bonkers. And that doesn't mean that you are bonkers to the extent that you are legally not responsible for your actions, right? You just turn into a freak and you have your freak offs. You know, you can't go hire hookers to come into town to fuck your staff, fuck your proteges, and put it on film for your own enjoyment against their will, which is what he did. You can't do that. And the guidelines, he's looking at a maximum of life, but I don't think he's really, I think it's around somewhere between 25 and 30 years. I think that's what the guidelines are going to be for him. You know, I want to say 327 months is about what he's looking at, but I'm not entirely sure because I'd have to get all the permutations of the enhancements because there's specific enhancing factors with the violence, with the number of victims, with everything else that's going on. Now, his lawyer gave a press conference as I said at the beginning of this video, Mr. Combs or Diddy or Sean, he had his detention hearing. Now, his lawyer, here's the thing about this kind of a case. You know, he has to have a defense. He has to have a lawyer, obviously. Mark Agnifilo is his lawyer. And he comes out, you know, and it's a high profile. This is as high profile as it gets, right? But he's in the same jail where, I believe he's in the same jail where Epstein was. He's on suicide watch. He's been denied bail. And his lawyer comes out and makes these statements. Let's take a look.
So this was the first step. We have a bail appeal scheduled for tomorrow at 3:30 in front of Judge Carter, the district judge assigned to this case. I think that we made the points that we.
The way this works is this. So when you have a bail hearing, you know, your initial detention hearing, you go before a magistrate. So there's two. So you have a district court judge, and then you have the magistrate. The magistrate's kind of like a buddy judge. They handle all the pretrial stuff. So if you have a motion to suppress, if you have a preliminary hearing, if you have a detention hearing, all the stuff that you have beforehand, those are all heard by a magistrate judge. They don't hear trials. They don't take pleas. They don't get involved in sentencings. But if you don't like what the magistrate says, in other words, he denied us bail, well, then you can appeal that to the district court judge. If that doesn't work, you can appeal it to the circuit court. If that doesn't work, the Circuit Court of Appeals. If that doesn't work, you can go up the chain to the Supremes. But to grant or deny bail in a situation like that is really within the discretion of the court. And absent some showing of abuse of authority, they're not going to change the magistrate's ruling. So Agnifilo is going to charge him a shit ton of money. They're going to look and see at every avenue. And these New York law firms, I know how they work. They're not going to say, okay, we're going to just bill you for a set amount. They're going to say, okay, this is what it's going to take. These are hourly fees. And, and guess what? Millions and millions and millions of dollars later. Oh, I'm sorry, you're out of funds? Oh, fucking bye-bye. That's what they're going to do. Here's how I work. All right, I'll take your case for $1 million. All right? No matter how long it takes, you got me, and I'm using million for euphemistically. And so they're going to bleed him dry. And guess where he's going to wind up? In the same position as if he went in, pulled his pants down, and turned around and mooned the judge. He's going to be in the same spot. Except if he did that, he'd still have his money. This way, he's going to be broke as a joke. And he's going to give him this song and dance. I think we got this. You know, what he needs is somebody to tell him what the fucking truth is. You are fucked. You are absolutely fucked. You're going to prison for the good portion of the rest of your life. Guess what Diddy's going to do? He is not your gangster. He would probably snitch. But guess what? He's at the top of the heap. There's nobody to snitch on except for maybe somebody who's getting him the drugs. And who gives a shit about a low-level drug dealer when you got P. Diddy in custody?
I just want to add one thing about his lawyer. He was the ex-Manhattan assistant district attorney and former supervisor at the U.S. Attorney's Office who had a 2-year stint as chief of violent crimes unit prosecuting gangs. Is known for spending nearly 2 decades working for Combs. So
Well, Diddy should ask this guy, Agnifilo, and I don't know him, and I don't have any reason to badmouth him. I just know how these New York law firms work. How many federal cases have you gotten acquittal on? I haven't, anytime I got close to getting an acquittal, they dismiss the case. That's what they do in federal court. The feds have like a 96, 97% success rate. And in this case, half this stuff is irrefutable. The only thing that's refutable is the consent about it, right? That's the only thing that would be in dispute. Whether it happened or not, they're going to probably have the sex worker that was there. They're going to have the hotel records. They're going to have the receipts for all the fucking baby oil. And they have the baby oil. They have the actual baby oil. They got 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Who needs 1,000 bottles of baby oil? I suppose if you're having multiple freak-offs. But let's see what else he has to say.
We've been wanting to make. I think he came out. Mr. Combs is a fighter. He's going to fight this to the end. He's innocent.
The end of his money.
He came to New York to establish his innocence. He's not afraid. He's not afraid of the charges. There's nothing that the government said in their
Okay, that's just dumb. He's not afraid of the charges? Wouldn't you be afraid of the charges? Where are you? You're in fucking Rikers Island. You goddamn well better be afraid. They just executed 2 search warrants. They've got obliterated serial numbers on firearms. They've got videos and baby oil.
presentation today that changes anyone's mind about anything. He's been looking forward to this day. He's been looking forward to clearing his name, and he's going to clear his name. And we're going to stand by his side as he does. We believe in him wholeheartedly.
Until he runs out of money. Here's the thing. I shouldn't give him any shit because he's just doing his client's bidding. But these pre-trial posturing and that's all it is. It's just pre-trial posturing. He's not concerned. You damn well better. Then why he's on suicide watch? Because he's looking at life in prison. He's looking at a bullet. This is just like R. Kelly. This is just, R. Kelly was bad, was really bad. And did you see R. Kelly in the interview he did with what's her name? I mean, he freaked out. Why did he freak out? Because he saw the freight train coming. Guess what, Diddy? I got news for you. There's a freight train coming, and you are tied to those motherfucking tracks. And your lawyer, he's got a chisel, he's got a blowtorch, and he's got all kinds of other tools in his toolbox. And nothing he can do can remove you from those tracks because that train is coming, and that train is the U.S. government, and they're going to run a train on you.
He didn't do these things. This was a
bullshit. He didn't. Oh, so this indictment right here is just a bunch of shit. They just making all this shit up. They don't have anything on video. They have his recordings. They have his recordings of intimidating witnesses. This is what I don't like about when you go in front of the cameras and you're doing stuff for the media. He didn't do these things. You lose credibility. Less is more. He's going to fight this. I believe in his innocence. He has the right to the presumption of innocence, which he does in court, not where we sit. I mean, this is just a public opinion, right? So he has the right, and that's what I would do. But to say that he didn't do any of this, then what's with 1,000 bottles of baby oil?
Not to mention that video of him dragging Cassie Ventura down. You remember just watching that?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When you say he didn't do any of this, there's video. There's video evidence of it. To get out there and to shill for. Here's the thing. It's a defense lawyer's job to advocate for your client. It's not a defense lawyer's job to say things that aren't true.
10-year relationship. There's no coercion. There's no crime. There's basically just, someone who brought a civil case and now is finding themselves as a witness in a criminal case.
Cassie ain't the only one. Cassie is not the only one.
Everything's good?
Everything's
Selling
great.
out arenas and everything? Starting to act different, huh?
No,
You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot. But you never really got my number, so.
Correct.
My
Okay.
number?
Yeah.
Comfortable he is. Notice how he said, "You haven't been hitting me up the way we used to."
This is what I don't like when, when I have a case that's in the public, and I've had plenty of them, I say very little. And to say he didn't do this or didn't do that, let's just see what did he do.
And appears to corroborate some of the allegations of abuse against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs.
Okay, he's running down the hallway in a trial.
The video captured on multiple cameras.
She's trying to get away.
Assaulting his then girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, in a hallway at a Los Angeles hotel in March 2016.
But he didn't do that. This matches the indictment exactly. So tell me he didn't do that? I mean, this is what I don't like about lawyers that kind of go off the rails just to do their client's bidding. You can be an effective advocate without lying.
And we're going to fight this case with everything we have, as is he, and eventually
No, you're going to fight it with everything he has, not with everything you have.
he's going to be shown to be innocent. And so tomorrow we fight again, and we'll fight every day until we don't have to fight anymore.
Okay. Holy shit. Okay, but he didn't do this. Just so you know, he didn't do this. He did not do this. He doesn't have. Oh my God, look at all that baby oil. He didn't do this. He didn't have all these bottles of baby oil for nothing. He ain't getting out, and he isn't getting out in large measure because you've got, as recently as I think December 2023. Or shortly thereafter, witness intimidation. Courts don't like that. You've got drugs. Courts don't like that. You've got firearms. Courts really don't like that. And you've got violence. So you've got a whole host of things that are really unovercomable, if that's a word, that P. Diddy cannot overcome with regard to detention. So what does that mean? So that means he's going to sit while this case is pending. And, their lawyers are going to have to sift through shit ton of electronics. You think that Mark Agnifilo is going to sift through the shit himself? He's not, but he's going to bill for it. He's going to have his associates do that, or paralegals, or whoever. Whenever you see a former prosecutor turned criminal defense lawyer, I'm always suspicious of that. I don't know why. I just don't think they're good trial lawyers, from the defense perspective. But I don't know him, and he may be a very, very fine lawyer. But he's making stuff that's just not true. You saw what happened with Cassie. I mean, his client's a piece of shit. I mean, I hate to say this, but you put your hands on somebody like that and you drag them, and then you're forcing these people to have sex. It really is like Caligula. I mean, it is just you're powerful. You're a puppet master, and then you jerk off to this shit. I mean, what the
I've never made any sense.
Let's have another shot.
No, let's have another shot. I'm in. Okay,
We need to treat our guests the right way.
Okay, let's give them shots too. Come on.
No. This is me and you.
Oh, I need a shot.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
Shot,
This
bro.
mine? Okay.
Yeah, I just have
I'm
to
in.
see. It's all together. Me and you. Eyes.
You ready?
Eyes.
Eye, baby.
Eyes.
Let's do it.
Eyes.
Spilling it all over.
Eyes. Yeah, I love this drink.
Where you
Cheers
put my
with you. I
bag
like
at?
when you like this, Daddy.
Yeah, where you put my bag
Daddy,
at?
I like when you
It's right here,
scrambling
it's
and
right
scraping for
here.
shit.
No. I got
I
notes
like
and
that.
shit. I'll be practicing. I got
Yeah,
notes
there you
and
go.
shit.
Got your notes.
Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna go over with that one.
See where I look
Did you
back
miss
on
me?
where I became.
Did you miss me though? For real, because
I
it
miss-
seems like a thing.
I
with
miss
this
partying
birthday
with
party,
Puff, man. I
Man,
miss
but I'm
partying
talking about
with
for your
him.
birthday.
Huh?
Why won't you party with me for your birthday,
Why don't you take him shopping?
man?
We partied for my birthday before. You came to my party. And,
No, but me and you ain't never really party. You know what I'm saying? Eyes.
So Diddy's got this complex. So let's just you hear how he was in that. Well, you don't party with me on your birthday. Oh, it's like it's a sick thing. Listen to what he says to Bieber.
Everything's good. Selling out arenas and everything. Starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Because I don't want to suck your dick anymore. I mean, what the fuck?
I mean, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot. But you never really got my number, so.
Right. Okay.
My number?
I mean, he's complaining to a teenager that you don't really want to hang out with me anymore. Why would you want to hang out with a teenager to begin with? I mean, I know it's Justin Bieber, but I mean, why would you guilt a teenager for not wanting to hang out with you? Honestly.
And look at how uncomfortable Justin Bieber is.
He's absolutely uncomfortable. But I suspect he's like that with everybody. And then, so that you've got a character. Anyway, we don't need to dissect his personality. But you've got somebody who's flawed, a very, very flawed individual. So, I mean, this is a calculated individual. There's no question about it. And you're going to see, they're going to try this case. They're not going to offer him anything. I mean, if they offered him 10 years, he should take it. But they're not going to offer him 10 years. My guess is the guidelines are up around 300 months or thereabouts with all the different things that he's looking at. And so, we'll keep following this, but this is going to be a federal case that's going to go down in history as everybody's going to come out later and say, you know what? I told you I knew. I knew about, this is all. Yeah, I knew about him. All the celebrities are going to come out. Where's Jennifer Lopez? Wasn't she engaged to him for a while? She should have known him better than anybody. I mean, this guy's a flawed individual. He wanted to take 50 Cent shopping. I mean, that just tells you who he is. All right. So here's the long and short of it. So the next phase is they're going to have a motion hearing. And so his lawyers will, in all likelihood, file a motion to suppress the evidence obtained from the search warrants that were executed in Miami and Los Angeles. It'll go nowhere. It'll go out. But guess what? He will be billed through the fucking nose for those hearings. Because they'll have to prepare, they're going to have some testimony, and then blah, blah, blah. They're going to ask for a Franks hearing, that they're not going to get a Franks hearing. Just all the different things that they're going to ask for. And it's just going through the motions, really. He's got and I'm saying this off the cuff, so I don't really know exactly what the evidence is because I'm not involved in the case. But I know how these things work. And so they're going to have a motions hearing. And he can ask for different things in the motions hearing, like participating in voir dire, requesting that the government retain their rough notes, suppression of certain evidence, that kind of stuff. And once they do that, then they'll get a trial schedule. But this is a case that probably will be deemed a complex case, so it'll be pushed out a ways. So don't expect a trial within the next year on this case. And guess what? Diddy's going to sit for the next year. So we'll see you next time here in Criminal Lawyer Reacts. This has been our reaction to the indictment of P. Diddy, Sean Puff Diddler Combs, the Diddler-in-Chief.
Love.
God. Anyway, I don't have a lot of compassion for people who abuse other people, especially like when it comes to sex and that kind of stuff. So we'll see you next time here at Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your board-certified criminal defense lawyer, with our content genius, Michael Rivers. Make sure you go to clrbrucerivers.com to get merch.
The hoodies are in. The hoodies are in.
And we'll see you next time here at Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Look for us on Facebook. Sign up for Patreon. And we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That